It is another week working in the shop, and we are kicking off yet another turbo Silverado build because, I mean, I love turbos. What other reason do you need? So that's what we're doing today. In addition, we also have some new goodies for the ugly truck, which we'll install, which will make it just a little bit less ugly. And then we get a few more odds and ends to finish up on the all-wheel drive S10 project. So we'll jump right in with a bit of a backstory on what exactly this truck is and what's it doing here at the shop. About a year ago, we had a silver/pewter step-side Silverado roll through the shop where we did a bunch of suspension work. We fixed a badly botched C-notch. We installed some atomic fab coilovers up front and just kind of got the truck going down the road. But I haven't heard from it since until today, which I talked to the customer. That's not exactly true, but the truck's been doing its thing and now it's back with us, but it looks totally different. Obviously, it's had a paint job since then. He went from the silver, pewter, whatever color to this black. He went from a step side actually to a fleet side bed because he didn't like the plastic bed sides that the step side have. Can't blame him there. And then he's done a bunch of work to the drivetrain to prepare it for boost. So I'll try to give a summary. The engine came out, it came apart. It has a BTR Stage 2 turbo cam in it now. It has Summit Pro LS rods and pistons. It has Johnson lifters. He said he had the heads milled. I think it has an MLS head gasket, ARP head studs. It's got a Trailblazer SS intake on it now with a 90mm throttle body. Basically, he's done everything to prepare this truck to make a whole lot more power. Oh, and not just the engine either. It's also got a Jake's 4L80 in it with a Circle D converter, and he went through the rear end, and it has TrueTrack in it. And then, of course, we did the caltracs on it last summer as well. So basically, here is the truck. It's ready to make some power. Obviously, we skipped ahead in time, but we will start at the beginning and show you what we've done so far. All right, Chris is just getting the hot side started. What do you think so far? I have never seen a Huron Speed kit in person, so what do you think so far?
That seems to fit pretty well. Got a little bit of massaging to do on some AC lines.
So it looks like where the wastegate comes out on that side. What about fender liner clearance? Is that gonna, you think that wastegate's gonna clear, or? Hard to say.
That's hard to say. That might be pretty close.
The thing I always look at though is like plug wires that look like those are gonna do okay.
Yeah, got good clearance there.
Yeah, so definitely gotta figure something out for this because it goes right in front of the gate. Maybe we could, at the very least, put it in the middle. I'm gonna check and see if Rowan has a replacement for this guy. I know Dom already put on the different receiver dryer, and I think this hose is different, but that might be close. And then yeah, heater hoses will have to either do that sort of a number and rearrange the bottom, which we're gonna have to do anyway because he's got that other tank. So the tank hose, so get rid of that. That'll go in there. All right, that's a neat piece. Who makes that one? True Focus Fab. Coming right along. All right, so any of you guys out there who are married have probably heard of something called girl math, which is where your wife can go to Target for like a box of soap and come home with a whole shopping cart full of goodies that's like $300. I don't know what it is about Target, but there's also such thing as car guy math. So let me kind of walk you through the situation that I got myself into trying to be creative. So it all started with the all-wheel drive S10 project, and I couldn't find tires I liked for the 17x9 wheels. So I wanted to upsize, so I picked up some 18x9s. Really love these on here, and I picked up a pair of these tires, the Pirelli 275/40, to go on the back, which is great because I only had to buy 2 of them because on the front of Ugly Truck, I had 2 tires that were practically brand new and they would match. But here's where the math kind of starts to break apart a little bit because If I take the tires from the front of Ugly Truck and put them on the front of the all-wheel drive S10, well, then that means I need new tires for the front of the Ugly Truck. But you can't just put the same thing back on again. You really got to use the opportunity to upgrade, because we saved money on tires for the S10, right? So we splurged a little bit, and we have a complete new wheel and tire package for the Ugly Truck, and this is what we got. I think these will fit just fine. We have Pirelli, sorry, these are Toyos actually. We got a 275/40 up front and a 295/40 for the back, which actually I think those are backs, those are fronts. You know, that truck needs all the help it can get in the traction department. I do have a drag radial for when we're at the drag strip, but this is just my fun street setup. And of course, remember, car guy math, you can't put the same thing back on, so we had to upgrade to 20s, and I picked up my very favorite wheel for a Silverado of all time. And people give me a hard time about loving factory wheels, but there's just something about an OEM style wheel that looks awesome. So here is what I picked up from OE Wheels. This is a 20x9. I call them a snowflake, but I don't think technically that's the correct term. Throw that out. I really like how they package these, by the way, because even if like the UPS guy gets a little bit ambitious, the wheels are still protected. But we'll get that off in a second here. Boom, they're blue, just kidding. That is just a protective wrap. I should have done this ahead of time so I could have just shown you guys the wheels, but this is the polished version of, again, I called it a snowflake. I think that's incorrect. I'll put the number up on the screen, or in fact, that's what it is right there. The CV92 polished with clear coat, 20x9, 27mm offset. So this is how I'm going to save myself some money, because remember, I got 2 free tires for the front of the all-wheel drive S10, so it all makes sense. So let's get these bad boys mounted up so I can actually unmount the tires and then remount the ones for the front of that. Oh, that's a turbo truck. I don't know if we've shown you that or not yet, but anyway, tires. All right, the last side was a right, this will be a left, because these are directional. Here it comes. The one thing I do not know is if these will clear without rubbing, but I hope. It's a little more dry rotted than I would have hoped. I have considered actually lifting the front of this up just a touch, because it kind of sits a little low for my liking, but what do you think, Chris? Yeah, I like it. Okay, perfect. Straight through. Got like a regular NASCAR thing going on here. That's the left rear. We may be okay. That might be perfect. we go. Now the $1 million question, are these gonna hook up any better? So I did drive the ugly truck for a couple days with a new wheel and tire package on it. I'd say definitely traction has improved a little bit with the 295s on the back instead of those old junky 265s or whatever I had on there. But if I want to have a fun play toy on the street, I really should have like a progressive boost controller or something like that. But it's just so fun and addicting to be able to roll into the throttle and do a burnout. I'm like, hey, what the heck? Not a problem at all for me. I'll take it. So now that we have the old wheels and tires removed from the ugly truck, we're able to dismount the front tires. Because if you remember at the very beginning of this video, the whole reason why we had to buy new tires for the ugly truck is because I needed tires for the S10. So now we finally have the matched set installed. And I got to say, I am really digging the OE wheels on the S10. Even though I don't love the color match, like I love the color of the wheels, hate the color of the truck, but I actually don't think it looks all that bad. So I'm excited. The only problem now is that I have brand new tires on the back and ever so slightly used tires on the front. I think in the 2 years those have been on the ugly truck, I've probably put less than like 3,000 or 4,000 miles on it. But I did check and the fronts have like 1/32 of an inch less of tread depth, which all that means is before we do the final conversion to all-wheel drive, we'll just have to do some burnouts. I mean, what the heck, I can surely accommodate that. But yeah, S10 is looking good. Ugly truck is also looking good with the new OE wheel setup on it. So I am really, really pleased. So let's dive in and talk about the details on what exactly we are doing. Obviously, we're turbocharging it. We saw a little bit of the teardown already, and this is kind of where we're at as of Friday afternoon. Most of the teardown work is done for the exhaust. We've got the Huron Speed turbo kit, which we're installing. Customer supplied it. We've got the manifold there. We have the, or we, I say we, but it's actually Chris. He does a lot of this work for me. We've got the driver's side manifold installed, yet to install the crossover. But what size turbo are we doing? Remember, it's a 4.8. It is a T6 S475, so pretty decent sized turbo, but remember the customer has a goal of 700 to 800 horsepower, and that's a pretty decent sized turbo to make that happen. Maybe a ball bearing Garrett might spool a little bit quicker, but you know, it's gonna work. I think we're not gonna have any problems. 475 is pretty standard stuff nowadays for an LS. Downpipe is yet to go on. It's a two-piece downpipe design. I'm kind of anxious to see how that's actually going to fit. I've never installed a Huron Speed setup before, so we will find out together. But he also has, for the intercooler, I think he picked it up from, I believe, Rowan's Rides. We're going to be doing their intercooler and their radiator because this is the wider 34-inch style, which doesn't leave a lot of room for a side mount charge pipe. But we'll install the narrow radiator, we'll have room, we'll probably relocate the trans cooler just to make everything packaged nicely because this is where the intercooler needs to live. But that's sort of the gist of what it is that we're doing. Along the way, we are going to install one of these catch can deals, which I think I probably showed just a little bit ago. But we need to pull the valve covers and weld a dash 10 AN bung onto those, and we also need to pull the oil pan and install the weld-in AN bung to get oil from the turbo back into the engine. So we'll get that stuff knocked out, and then that's kind of the gist of what we're doing. All right, first task on the S10, we're gonna get this little guy welded onto the frame. It's just a simple tab that holds the brake line, or the hard line to the flex line up on the frame. This was on the truck originally, but it wasn't quite the right shape, so we cut it off. I added this little extension piece. Now we're gonna reattach it to the frame. Simple as that. All right, I have made sure this will clear evap canister, the suspension, and it even holds the brake flex line out of the way of our coil springs, so nothing should hit. Chris stole my lift, so we're going to do this part on the ground. I'm just taking some measurements for the gusset that goes from the panhard bar to the cross member. All right, I never was much good at arts and crafts and drawing shapes, but this is what I've come up with. All right, guys, we're gonna put a wrap on things for today. I know you don't really love these quick videos, but give me just a week or two and I promise I'll get back to better content making. We got some changes that we're doing around the shop, and as soon as that's all sorted and people are up to speed, then we'll be back here a whole lot more. I promise that. I can't wait, because I love building trucks. That's what like my passion is. That's what I live for. And you know, hey, life gets busy sometimes, but that's all right. I cannot complain. Very blessed to have people working for us like Chris who can take care of the stuff. And I don't have to have any worries or questions about the quality of work that's getting done, because that's the one thing at the end of the day that matters most to me, is maintaining that exceptional quality. No matter what, do your best. That's what I preach, and that's what I do for myself, and that's what I expect for the guys here as well. So, second gen Cyclone build, I know you guys hate that name, but we are gonna get back to that very soon. I've got just a few odds and ends left on the frame before I button it up. I've been so anxious to get that bed back on and get this truck driving, because it's dragged out for a very long time. But we'll get there. Thank you guys. Come back soon.